Hey guys, it's Camille Satter, known as the Ecom King, and in today's video, we're doing a podcast style interview because all of you guys have been asking to know me on a personal level, and of course, we are doing dropshipping questions as always. Now, I'm choosing Aman to interview me, and if you guys don't know who Aman is, Aman used to be a student of mine 5 years ago, and since then she's been able to achieve over 7 figures with her own brands, and me and Aman have now gone into business together to launch our new e-commerce brand.
So Cam, I kind of wanted to start this off figuring out what you were like really early on.
Yeah.
So let's get into your early days. Like, what was you like as a child? What was your personality like? And, I want to kind of figure out why Cam is Cam.
I think Cam is Cam because when he grew up, he was very crazy kid, just running around, wanting to do anything in terms of, can I jump off this huge wall and not break my legs? Always testing the waters. How far can I test my life in terms of, can I push the boundaries? And I think growing up, I've always had that mentality of how far can I push things for them to work or not to work. And then obviously going through school, didn't enjoy school, hated school because I've been gifted this brain. Doesn't quite fit the school system because it's made for a certain type of person. So when I'm sitting in class and I'm struggling to sit still because the topics they're talking about, I have no entertainment in them. Didn't do well at school. I failed all my GCSEs. I think the only one I passed was IT. So I think that really made me think, well, Cam, if you want to get rich, the only way you can get rich is if you start your business and do something that you enjoy.
You said that you've lost about 3 million. I'd like to know more about that. So can you give me some background on
Yeah, so in 2022, I decided to invest money, and the majority of that money was in Ecom, and a lot of it went to basically zero because those Ecom stores basically died out in the end. And I tried doing that Dragon's Den thing where you come and try and revive a business and it doesn't work. But sometimes you find people that revive businesses and thrive from it. So I tried doing that and it just didn't bite.
Okay. And in terms of personally, how did that affect you a lot, or how did you deal with that?
Yeah, mentally it kind of hurts a little bit, but you get over it very quickly and you just realize that money is something that comes and goes, but time is the most important thing. I'm actually very happy that that happened to me because I wouldn't be able to mature without that happening.
Okay, amazing. With the widespread everywhere, I'm sure a lot of people see it saying that dropshipping is dead. What would you say, your comment is on this, since you've been doing it for like 7-8 years now?
I wouldn't be here today if I listened to the same advice. So when I started dropshipping in 2017, you can look at Reddit forums and Quora forums of people back then saying dropshipping was dead. So if I listened to those same people, I wouldn't be here today. And I wouldn't have been able to achieve the success I've been able to achieve today if I listened to those same toxic people. And you got to remember, dropshipping is correlated to e-commerce. So whatever e-com is doing, whatever Amazon are doing in terms of their global sales is what e-com can do.
Okay, amazing. And a bit like right now, there's a huge buzz surrounding e-commerce in terms of what is going to happen with it, what's AI going to do with it. What's your opinion on this?
So I think AI will not kill e-commerce business owners, so it won't replace them, because you got to remember AI currently doesn't have any form of emotion. Remember, humans buy because of emotion. So till AI gets that type of technology, which will be at least 30-50 years in my opinion, we don't need to worry about it. We're going to use it to our advantage to obviously make money.
Amazing. I love that. What is the easiest way to find a good winning product? So what is the actual secret to finding a winning product?
It's actually very simple, but many people overcomplicate it. So what I do is I look for an upcoming event or trend. So for example, we're now moving into summer. So straight away, we should be selling summer related products. Now within summer, what do people tend to do? They tend to go to festivals. They tend to do all these things. So for example, you got summer sports that include going to the beach. That could be surfing. That could be bodyboarding. What products can we sell to these people during these times of the year? You have to think really smart about it. And once you find these niches, you can find products within them to basically sell.
You can start it today with nothing in your bank account and become a millionaire. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Obviously, it's them trying to take you down a path that they're going to eventually sell you on something. Now, gurus have got very clever nowadays because they've realized that most people that are attracted to dropshipping or making money online, you got to remember, dropshipping is a part of a making money online industry. And these guys have got clever knowing that if you try and sell them something that is paid or has a higher amount than, let's say, less than $100, you're probably not going to buy something from them. So what a lot of these gurus are now doing is selling you very cheap offers, $10, $30, as like a subscription model to learn from them. Or they're selling you a service which technically is free to use, but they make money because they're either sponsored or they're getting an affiliate deal. So these guys are clever because they're trying to say to you, look, you can start dropshipping for nothing, but you're then going to use a service that I want you to use and I'm going to get a kickback from it. So it doesn't matter for them if you can start it with either $10 or $1,000, they're still going to make money.
Yeah, smart. But Also cheeky.
I'm glad, because we're going to talk about one of the biggest methods that these guys are using later.
I love it. Yeah. Do you think it's a waste of money to drop ship if you can find it on Amazon?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that if you can buy it off Amazon, why would you drop ship it and why would somebody buy off your store? Which I can understand the logic behind it, but you got to also understand that not everyone knows about these products. So you're actually paying to educate the existence of these products. So without you as the drop shipper, most of these products, these people would never know about. So you're actually paying to educate these people to know about this product, and they wouldn't know about it without you. So that's what you're basically getting paid for.
And do you think it's an advantage that it's on Amazon or not? Or do you not think it makes a difference?
Honestly, it makes a very minute difference. You know, if that was the case, every dropship in the world would not make any money.
Fair enough. And do you think that dropshipping is profitable in 2024?
Profitability is a funny one, because a lot of people will show you those fancy screenshots, but they won't tell you what the money really was. I know some guys that are like sharing screenshots of like 3 million a year, but like they're at break even or just about making money. And you got to understand that the profitability of dropshipping is between 15 and 30%. That is a good profit margin for this business. Now, although you might be watching this laughing like that's not very good, you got to remember the scalability of this business is like no other. You can scale it to levels you can't with most businesses. So if you look at 30% of a very high number, it all adds up.
Yeah. And in genuine brands like that are not dropshipping, I think it's 12%. So that's actually really good that if you could get 30% on the dropshipping store. So do you have some stores that you've done over 30% or 30% on?
The only ones that we do over 30% is if they're all influencer based. So we're not running Facebook ads, Google ads, or what we call bid types of marketing, where you're having to bid for people to see your ads. So influencers, you're looking at between 45 and 60. And those ones are crazy.
And do you have to pay the influencer?
Yeah, sometimes you can pay them, and sometimes you can work on like a brand ambassador program, but that's like micro influencers. But if you want to work with good ones, then you have to pay them, unfortunately.
In your experience, I know you've done it for a very long time. What would you say the biggest mistake that people make in dropshipping is?
I think the biggest mistake people make in dropshipping is not giving it enough time and not understanding what they're getting themselves into. They just think that they're going to start this online business, they're going to have a website, and people are just going to come to it naturally and buy off it. Like they don't think logically about how all this works. So I always say to people that unless you're willing to look at this business as at least between 10 and 20 product business, where you're gonna have to go through at least 10 and 20 products. And I'm not about going through it with a very good system where it's robust, it's proven to work. So for example, somebody you might watch online who you trust what they teach. If you go through 20 products with their system, you should find at least one that does decent numbers. I'm not saying makes you rich, but could make you $5,000 in profit, could make you $10,000 in profit. You have to have the acceptance of getting into a business where you're having to test a lot and you're having to learn these skills. The skill that we all have to learn in this business is the attention of asset. Like everyone is now fighting for your attention, all these social media platforms, and you've got to be willing to learn what it takes to grab somebody's attention. So creative marketing, how good are your videos, how good are your images, how good is your website, how good is your offer, what are you offering people on your website, buy one, get one free, buy two, get one free, whatever. So I think the biggest mistake people make is not understanding what they're getting themselves into and not giving themselves enough time to actually see success. And they're too worried about money. Like they give themselves like a $500 budget. If I lose that money, it's done. I'm not doing it again.
That's amazing. And this is just literally something that I want to know for myself, but I'm sure a lot of people also would want to know, is if you had to choose the top 3 things for dropshipping and you're like, these are the things, whether that's landing pages, whether it's ad creation or whether it's copies, whatever it is, I don't know. What would you choose? What are the 3 things that you're like, if you do this really well, most likely you'll find like a decent winning product, or you'd find a decent store?
I would say creative marketing in terms of being good at editing videos, being good at editing images. Like, for example, we all know Nick, right? Me and you. He is a genius at making videos and images. And he can run any dropshipping product and make some insane money because no other of his competitors can edit videos like him, can create images like him. And, he's running a product right now and doing like 10K a day with it just because he can edit videos so well.
There's a lot of times that, we see the success in dropshipping and people don't really talk about like some of the downfalls. A lot of that can be like heavy returns or, customers not happy and satisfaction, which is actually a lot of the operational sides that we don't talk about, which is not always the nicest sides to talk about. So how do you deal with that? Like in terms of if you have a store that has a lot of returns or it's not doing as great, like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think people don't respect successful dropshippers enough, especially the good guys, the guys that are not there like because you get guys in this industry that will have bad returns and not bother with them and ghost their customers. But the actual legitimate guys in the space and girls, you know, the ones that are actually looking after their customers, it's not easy because, you know, you get payment holds on PayPal for 180 days. You've got 100 grand on there that you're trying to use to pay back customers and you can't. So where are you finding the money? So people don't realize any of this, and it's a scary time. It's a depressing time. It's a very dark time. And the best way to handle it is just to really think, what can you do to make things work without you worrying too much? Like, if you've got a lot of returns, you need to figure out why you're getting lots of returns, whether it be your sizing problem, whether it be the product doesn't match the description, so your supplier is basically ripping you off because they're selling a dodgy product that doesn't exist. I had a fishing rod product back in 2019 during the summer where it was a really good fishing rod. It was good quality, but the supplier ran out of the one that I was selling and sold the one that was the closest to it. And then I got a load of customers saying it's not the same as the one in the image. And I had fishing rods being delivered that were broken. And when I asked for the money back off the supplier, they said, we don't have a return policy. So it's like, who are you getting? As a drop shipper, it's your job to make sure that who's managing your logistics, they have some form of refund policy. That's my most honest, best advice I can give. Do not work with a dropship supplier unless they've got a clear refund policy or return policy. It's just a straight red flag if they don't.
Okay, that's very good information. So a lot of people, when they're first starting out, they have not got, like, I would say, the biggest budget. Like, and also there's a misconception of, before you clarified it, of what the budget is. But let's say I've got like $1,000 budget or something like that. What would you say the best services or product services is to test out a product? So I
always say stick to Facebook. Facebook even today is the king of advertising, in my opinion. Anyone that's doing crazy numbers will always tell you Google and Facebook are the staples in this industry. But if you're a drop shipper, I'll always say stick to Facebook, stick to TikTok. Split it by like 60% Facebook, 40% TikTok. So what I'd always say is, if you're testing a dropshipping product, always give yourself between $200 and $300 on ad spend per product. So ad spend. Now, if you spend $100 on Facebook, but then you make $30 in product selling, you then take that away. So then you're back at that amount. So till you've lost over $300, then you move on to another product. Now, you might want to spend $150 on Facebook, $150 on TikTok, or $200 on Facebook and $100 on TikTok.
So just going a little bit more past, can you share some like pivotal moments that you've seen, whether that's the ups and the downs of your dropshipping journey, starting all the way at the beginning? First of all, tell us a bit more about that. So what was the first thing that you were buying and selling?
So like back in 2015 to 2017, if you're in the UK, especially in the UK, I think the US was similar. You know, Christian Louboutin was flying off shelves. You couldn't even buy them anymore. You had to, like, all the footballers would buy them, all the basketball players would buy them. So you couldn't get them unless you bought them from a reseller like me. So I got into that because I love those items. Like, I used to be big into like wanting to be in fashion. I'm not saying I'm a fashion guy, definitely not. But back in the day, I used to be into it. And I used to look at these products and think, wow, I could never afford to buy them myself. So imagine if I could get other people to buy them. I get to have them in my house for a few days, see what it's all about, and then ship them off. Yeah, so basically I was basically doing drop shipping from earlier on. So technically, if we really break it down, I was technically doing drop shipping since 2015. Because I wasn't buying these luxury items till I found a buyer. So I was technically drop shipping.
Yeah, that's technically drop shipping. Amazing. And then you transitioned into drop shipping. What was you doing before the reselling?
So before reselling, I had 2 jobs. So basically, I left, I failed school. So I had no GCSEs. I've even put images on my grades on the internet, because you get all those guys, you get those cringy guys that say, I'm a college dropout. All that cringes me, because most of these guys aren't. It's just complete BS. Yeah. So I just thought I'd be clear by putting my grades on the internet. Obviously blurred out all the important stuff, but just to prove that I did fail school. So I dropped out of school, and I've just been not obsessed with money, but I've been hungry to make money. So I just dropped out. Got 2 jobs. I was working at Primark, and then I was working at JD Sports, which is obviously shoes, and I was just grafting to make money.
And where do you think that came from? Like, that wanting to make money?
I think just growing up, you wanted to do things, and if your mom and dad said no to you, it would not hurt, but it would upset you, because you feel like you've upset them. You know, if you look at your mom when they say no to you, it's not a nice thing for a mother to say no to a child. So that made me hungry to want to make money.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that you didn't come from money. Like, it's not something that you've just grow up with.
No, I'm not.
And in terms of, like, I think a lot of people might look at you now and have like just some misconceptions about the type of person you are, like you've got money, like you're all sorted. Like what's something that people might not know about you or your personality that will like shock someone?
This is the biggest shock that anyone will ever find out about me. You will never know what I have or I don't have because I don't want you to know.
Yeah.
So you might watch me and be like, is this guy worth this amount of money or is he worth this amount of money? I will never tell you. So I actually feel bad. I'd rather you watch me on YouTube and be like, this guy's wearing a white t-shirt. He's in just a normal little office room and I can relate to this guy. I don't want you to feel like I'm looking down on you or you feel like you're lower than me because of what I'm materialistically wearing or what I've got on.
Do you think that your religion has part to play in that as well? Because you're a Muslim and, you know,
Alhamdulillah.
And people know that, you know, one of the sins is actually being like super in your face about things.
Evil eye is a serious thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I just want to keep it away. But yeah, religion humbles you, me, everyone that I know. And even if you're not a Muslim and you believe in God, I notice that it humbles a lot of people. But I think us Muslims are very strict. Like we're very, 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 very careful with how we do things. So I think it's one of the biggest blessings that I can ask for.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that look at you and they're like, oh, this guy is chatting, like he's not telling the truth or whatever it is. I'm sure there is. I'm not sure if that, you know, I don't know what your ins and out of your things is. So what is like some of the, one, I've got two, it's a two-part question. The first is, what's the funniest like negative comment that you see? And two, how do you deal with like people just talking bad about you?
So you know what? There was a time in my career, I think it was from like 2019 to 2020 on YouTube. If I saw a negative comment, it would vex me. Like I used to try and prove my point to the guy in the comment section. And I've realized that even when you prove these guys wrong, they'll try and find something else. But I think the biggest negative comment I've ever got is, you know, you don't really do what you say you do. And, you know, it's the typical one you get and you're making this up. You don't really make money or you're faking it. And it's like, if that was really the case, I wouldn't be here today and I would have got exposed by now. Like, I have a very good relationship with Shopify. I'm a Shopify partner. They wouldn't allow me to lie. You know, if they wanted to access my store, they could easily. They could run my name in the database. They could run anything. They could find out on me that I'm just fooling people and whatnot.
I think anyone that makes money is usually like, you know, prove how much you make, like show us your bank statement, things like that. That would probably come up a lot. And yeah, I think sometimes also you could probably be very blunt on certain things. So I don't know if people comment on the fact that you are a very straightforward guy and, you know, you're, I don't know, some people might love that. Some people might. So you have several businesses, stores, and not just in Ecom, you have several other businesses that you work on, whether that's software and things like that, which can potentially take up a lot of time. Not even potentially, it probably does take up a lot of time. So like, how do you manage like your personal life and a work-life balance? I don't think there's work-life balance. I just think there's life. But how do you manage that? Like, how do you kind of switch off? Because I can imagine that it's intense when you're constantly thinking about.
I don't think I ever switch off. I think when you're built the way I am and the way most entrepreneurs are, is you can never, like if you look at some of the greatest people in the world, like Elon Musk, he's always said publicly that he struggles in life because he just doesn't know when to switch off and it affects his personal life. For myself, I think I've got better with it over time and I've learned to outsource things and really hire people. So like for the software company, I've completely hired that out. You know, I do calls with the team a lot. For the Ecom King, I like to be very, very transparent with that. And I do not outsource anything apart from obviously thumbnails, editing the videos. But for people to write my video titles, no. For people to fill out my video in terms of what I'm going to say, no. I don't use a teleprompter. They've not even thought about it. And I know that because I've seen the raw edits of a lot of these guys' videos. And they're just looking into a video and they've made like 12 mistakes before they've even gotten to the second part because they don't know what they've written.
Do you not think that takes more time though?
What do you mean?
Writing everything up yourself.
Yeah, but then it just means that the confidence I'm going to have on the video really shows. Hence, the people always say that my videos have always been very helpful because I know what I'm saying.
It's a lot more authentic as well.
Yeah, I'm not turning up like, oh God, what am I going to say today? So that's the part that does take up a lot of time, but I think it's worth it because a lot of people will always give me the credit I deserve, which is the quality of the content you produce in terms of not the look of it, just the actual knowledge of it is always very high.
Yeah, I agree. Really, I agree. But it takes a lot of time. Like you take a lot of time.
People underestimate the YouTube game. Like it's
a lot of work. Yeah, I can imagine. So then if you never switch off, as you say, how do you make sure that your mental health is okay?
Not easy.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize that your mental health's taking a hit to like certain parts of the day where you're on your own or it's quiet or your subconscious mind drifts off for a little bit and then you're like, oh wow, maybe I'm not okay. So I just think you have to, when you get a few moments where you're like, okay, something doesn't seem right. If you get them again and again, you need to agree with yourself something's not right. And having anxiety, by the way, is not something to be ashamed of. And I used to be ashamed of it, and then I realized it's natural. So if you accept it, you're more likely to get on with it. So I just think it's important to speak to people. This journey that we're on as entrepreneurs is very lonely because and that's the bit with dropshipping that's quite scary. You're on a laptop, you're in your house, and you're on your own. You're not speaking to people like with a social media marketing agency or HR. You're just on your laptop, grinding out. So you're very lonely. So you need to really speak to people, whether it be your friends, your partner, whoever. Just you need to start. And if you don't have those people, find groups, free groups that you can join, because the worst thing you can do is just be left on your own.
Yeah, that's really good. I think people forget to do that when you're on your grind a little bit.
The problem with too many startups are, because I've met them, is it's either I grind or I die. And it's like, bro, don't do that. Because if you do grind and find that success, those grind and not speak to anyone is going to catch up with you, because you're going to have all this money now.
And no one to share it with.
No one to share it with. But most importantly, you're not even going to realize till you've got the money and you can relax for a bit that you're on a beach and you're like, holy crap. I think I've got a little bit of depression.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say in terms of like when you look back at the person you was when you was growing up? What advice would you give yourself? What would you say you did well or you would have improved? Or would you say you don't regret anything and I'll keep it the same?
I think I got better with it, but ever since I was a kid, I've always suffered with anger problems. Like I'd get ticked very quickly and I'd lose my temper very fast.
Oh, okay. I would have never guessed
that. I was terrible.
Oh, okay.
My mother would tell anyone. I was like, I got it from my dad. I just switch very quick. But then I've learned over time to just try not to overreact too quickly. So I'd look at my younger self and say, look, Cam, just relax more. Don't overreact to things and just take time. And also, don't try to impress people all the time. And that's what I tried doing when I was younger. I was always trying to impress people, my friends, my family, and it just makes you depressed.
Yeah, it does. Even like now, I think I don't really see you super flashy anyway, but on the internet, like now that you're on the internet and you've got like a social platform, I don't know if you do, but do you feel like you have to upkeep a certain personality, or do you feel like, no, like I'm actually very comfortable with, as you said before, like just being myself and being in the little white tee or whatever it is on a daily basis?
No, I'm very happy with who I am. Now, it plays two ways. It's bad for me as a brand because I'm not going to grow to the way these other guys have grown, but it's good for me as a, in terms of my mental health, because if you look at a lot of other guys' profiles compared to mine, Instagram, for example, there's some days or there's some weeks that I go without posting and you're like, why is this guy not posted for? You look at these other guys that every day they're posting. Just because I've disconnected, I'm not looking to post every day or whatnot, but I think it's bad for me as a brand because it just means that I'm not going to grow as much because people want to see it every day.
They do. They want to kind of keep up with your life. I know you work all the time and you have lots of projects that you deal with. Do you have anything that you're passionate about that people don't know about you, that is not work related and things like that? So I know a few things, like you have a massive Batman thing in your house that you built recently, but do you have anything else that you're passionate about that you just do for fun?
Is there? Sometimes you need a third person view. Is there?
Yeah, like I feel like he collects. So big. Yeah, you did that recently. Do you want to talk about that? Like, why did you?
The only thing that I'm crazy passionate about and have a big drive for is obviously Batman. Just because the origin story of it, Batman, his mom and dad died when he was early. It haunted him his whole life. He feared. That's the big thing in this whole thing. People don't realize, unless you're a big Batman fan or you've watched the movie and paid attention to it, it's about a young boy that lost his parents, was heartbroken, and what's the most important thing? Fear. He feared anything associated with that moment. So how he conquered that fear and then came out and then, tried to change the world, basically the world he lived in, is crazy. So that's why I love Batman so much.
So everyone defines success in a different way. How do you define success? Do you define it differently from your earlier days, or is it the same?
Yeah, so in the early days when I first started out, I'd always define success with how much money I've got in my bank account. And I think that's what most startups do. And again, I wouldn't advise that because then you're chasing one way of success. And the other ways of success I'm going to get onto now is, skills. So skill or mastering a skill, in my opinion, is success because you have it the rest of your life. I could go back to zero and have all these skills and attributes that are going to contribute to my future success again. So I think skills is a massive one. I think time is another one. So having the time to be able to do things that others can't do. And even if you don't have money, you can still do things with time. I think mastering skills is probably the most important one.
I think a lot of people that are successful say that as well, like what they've learned from their failures and from their successes is the things that they've taken away from it. So
because logically, if you think about it, let's say you're worth £100 million. You lose it all tomorrow and you made that money not having any skill, using other people's skill. So I strip you without any money. Now what can you do?
Yeah.
But if you made that 100 million with your own skill and I then strip you with the money, what are you left with?
Yeah.
And because you got to remember, skills come with, unfortunately, some numbers. So like, for example, what you're going to learn from making $10,000, and again, of your own money, like making $10,000 at a job isn't the same as making $10,000 yourself, because it acquires a different amount of skill and responsibility. So let's say your journey from $0 to $10,000 on your own, you're going to learn a certain amount of skills. Then from 10 to 100, a certain amount, then 10 to a million, then 1 million to 10. You're going to learn and master different skills all across that.
It's true. And yeah, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I always say that to my students as well. I say
that's good.
Yeah. So you are known for like doing all these different businesses and all this other stuff. What would you say you would be doing, if anything, if you wasn't doing this right now?
I actually wanted to go into the army, you know.
Oh, really?
I've been watching too many movies.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to do the SAS, but I don't think I'm fit enough for it.
Maybe you was back then. Now you made me, you know. When do you go into the army? I think when you're 18, right?
I think you can do it when you're 16.
Oh, really?
You can join when you're 16, I think.
Yeah. That's interesting. I would have never thought that. Why do you think you wanted to go into the army?
Because I watched movies, but then there's a reality of it, of discipline. Like you see those guys in front of a sergeant and they're disciplined. They follow orders, they get the job done, and they'll sacrifice anything to get the job done. And I think you'll notice that a lot of people that were ex-army are now successful businessmen. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
There's loads of them.
Yeah, there is.
Because of the mentality they have right now.
Talking about discipline and just going off that, I think that's so important, right, with everything that you do. However, you're also a very creative person. So like, how do you manage this? Because sometimes I struggle being super disciplined and also being very creative, because they say that you're either an A-type personality or a B-type personality. So you either hire people to do certain things that you just feel like you can't do, or you feel like, you know, that's not within your strength. But you also are very disciplined when it comes to recording videos on time and running your businesses. So how did you learn to be so productive, I guess, and do all these different things?
I think I realized early on in my life of business that you can't, because I think people get sold a dream with business, which is you do what you enjoy. You're making money living your best life, or you're making money with having fun. But that's not true, because some parts of business you're not going to enjoy. There's parts of my business that I don't enjoy, but I realize that I have to do it to enjoy the good parts. Well, the sooner you accept that, the better.
Yeah, that's such an important point, by the way. I feel like that's so important that people don't really realize that.
What's the bit that you love the most about your business?
Marketing, socials, stuff like that. Like I love doing the creative sides of things, but then when it comes to things like operational things and things like that, I'm not a big fan of it, but I know that it's necessary to do.
So you do it, right?
So I have to do it, yeah, of course.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. No, but it's just, with me, I always say like routine helps me a lot because I'm not disciplined. So because I'm not super disciplined, I just have a very strict routine. So like I do things at a specific time, and then I'm just like, I sit down and do it. If I say I have to do it, I have to do it. But again, some people are naturally disciplined. Like they're like, yeah, I'm just going to do all of this other stuff. So like the army example, I think I was watching this video of a guy in the army, and he was saying that if you're not amazing at discipline, it's good to have a routine. So if you're posting, let's say, a video every Monday, keep posting it every Monday. That creates routine, and then that creates discipline. Being surrounded by so many successful people, like outside of yourself, you're obviously very successful. What's like something that you feel keeps you grounded and keeps you humble and keeps you, you know, in that mindset that it doesn't get to your head?
Religion, that's it. Like we're taught that you have to lower your ego, and then you can raise in the rankings. Always.
Very simple.
And I always say to people, if you're going to look down on somebody, only look down on them with the intent of helping them up. If you're looking down on somebody to just look down on them, I can't speak to you.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like I could meet somebody. I remember when I lived in Dubai for 3 months. Don't get me wrong, I didn't have a great experience because I met these kind of people that would just look down constantly. And I don't care who you are, who you're connected with, how you can help me in my life. If that's who you are, I do not want to be associated with you.
I don't actually know this answer to this. Did you ever have a mentor or like a role model that you looked up to?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, really? Do you want to talk about that?
My first mentor was a guy called Ashley Walker. If
Okay.
he's watching this, big up Ashley.
Okay.
He's from
Shout out, Ashley.
Handsworth.
Okay.
And he got into property, and I met him at a networking event. Again, how important it is to network. in my early days, I wasn't surrounded with anyone that I could inspire to on a business level. Obviously, my parents I inspired to because, you know, they raised me to who I am today. They taught me important principles. But on a business level, I had no one.
Because I think it's really important because you now mentor people. One of your, I still see you as a mentor. I know we work together now, but I still see you as one of my mentors. But yeah, it's inspiring to see that you've had a mentor and now you basically are giving back and helping other people.
But I still have mentors today that I look up to or, you know, get knowledge from and say to them that, you know, you are technically advising me in different aspects where it comes to investing money, saving money, you know, always remain the student and never the master and you'll always grow.
We kind of spoke about this a little bit, but how important is it to you to like give back? And because I know you're very passionate about charity and you do a lot of giving back and things like that. Like how important is that to you?
Like in the top, like it's so important because you've got to understand this is a very short life we live. And in this short life, you're tested on what you're willing to do. Like God will give you success, but he's testing you to see what you're then going to do with it. Are you going to go and basically throw it all at the wall? Or are you actually going to do something great with it? Give back and build and give back to people by building things. It could be building a school, building a hospital, and giving back to in these ways. So I think giving back at any stage of your career, and you don't have to give money. It's just as simple as giving somebody your time.
Yeah. Like I know a lot of the times like people struggle with self-doubt and like things that you probably struggle with. And people probably look at someone like your caliber and thinks, oh my God, like this guy has so much confidence. He never thinks he has a bad video, or he never thinks that his editing isn't amazing, or his stores must always do well. He probably, none of his products probably fail, and he always is happy. But I don't know if there's any truth to that. But do you struggle with self-doubt? And if you do, like, how do you deal with that?
I think people have to understand that the higher you go in life, the further you can drop, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually better to start out as a newbie because you're going to fall back onto a floor from sitting down on a chair instead of up on a skyscraper. But, you know, like every day I struggle with autocorrect, trying to correct me on spelling. And I think everyone knows what my spelling is terrible. I've just agreed and realized that I can't spell and I'm just going to get on with it. And I think that's a good thing to talk about because some people would probably overdo it and be like, if I can't spell, I'm going to spell. And I think you got to learn some bits you're not blessed with and you just got to let it go. Some bits you are, you got to let it go. I'm not perfect in terms of capability, but I just know I can outwork a lot of people, or I'm willing to learn something that I'm not good at just so I can then be on the same level in terms of discussion. I can talk on the point.
Yeah, amazing. I want to talk about money. Let's talk about like the way it makes you feel right now versus the way it made you feel when you first got it. Let's say your first ever store that you did like £1,000 a day or whatever it is, or 50 orders. How did that make you feel like?
Well, me and my wife were actually on a holiday at the time.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had Shopify notifications turned on. So that's when you know you're a new guy because you leave them on. And all holiday, all you could hear was cha-ching, cha-ching. And people are like, what the hell is that cha-ching notification? They're probably thinking every time he gets a text, it's a cha-ching notification. But it was actually Shopify cha-chinging because it was my first ever real winning product that did over 6 figures. Yeah, I think going back to my early days, I think it's quite nice actually. I think if I could go back in time, I would, because it's cool going through those early days. You don't realize how special that moment was till you have to think back on it.
And what was your first store that did 7 figures for you? Was that a dropshipping store?
Yeah, it was a dropshipping store and it was a niche tech store. So we're selling like lots of different tech products, not actual like iPhones, but like tech related. So it could be iPhone cases, it could be wireless earbuds.
And I know you don't like to flash or whatever it is, but what was your first big purchase? Like your first ever thing that you're like, do you know what? I spent a bit of money on this after, you know.
I actually don't know. What was it? I think it was a Rolex, yeah.
Nice.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Are you a big watch collector?
Not anymore.
I don't think I've ever seen you wear a watch.
I've lived it and I'm done with it.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Doesn't interest me anymore. It's like you buy... Yeah, I feel like people have it. You go through it and then you're out of it.
Yeah, I think it's different for different people. Looking ahead, so what are you working on, and what is some exciting things that people can wait for?
You might as well say it now, innit?
Yeah, we
the
can.
Modest brand.
Yeah,
that to me holds a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
So to be able to start a business with 2 people that I've got a very good relationship with, you know, I've known you for 5 years, mentored you, seen you do amazing things, able to get into business with my wife now. She's amazing at fashion design. So
she really
makes sense. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
And to then provide women, not a certain woman, but women, the chance to show that modest fashion, whether you're Caucasian, Asian, African, is a beauty, is even better than anything.
Yeah. When Cam and Jessica came with the idea, because he was the one who actually said, I want to start a modest wear brand and the reason behind it. And I was like, oh my God, like this is so true. The reasoning behind it is such needed. Like the amount of times that I've spent more money putting things together because I now needed to buy 4 pieces to make something modest was crazy. The fact that no one really is focusing on just solely that, it's crazy to me. So absolutely, I think it's going to be fantastic. The pieces are absolutely stunning. Like Jessica did such an amazing job in designing them and bringing them together. So yeah, I'm really excited for the world to see what we have in.
I'm very excited and very passionate about it. And then the second thing is Fad Closet. Now, Fad Closet's been a multi-year project for me because it went through a lot of different things. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because it used to be a seasonal brand, and it's kind of like a challenge for me. I'm taking a 7-figure brand that's seasonal and trying to make it full season. And that's very hard to do. And then the last one is going to be building real AI. Like, I love AI, I love technology. I want to build real AI services that people can use and they can break it apart and be like, yeah, he's built it legitimately. It's not this BS thing he's built and trying to sell to people.
That's so exciting. Looks like you're going to have an amazing 2024 and the rest of the year and next year. So that's fantastic. So lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick fire round of questions. It's nothing to do with anything, but I thought it'd be fun for people to know you. And you have to say the thing that comes to you first, okay? Are you ready?
Yep.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
A beach vacation or mountain vacation?
Beach vacation.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Non-fiction.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
Sweets or savoury?
Savoury.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Sneakers or sandals?
Sneakers.
And comedy or drama movies?
Drama.
Oh, there you go. That was really easy. I thought you'd struggle with some of those.
Let us know in the comment section below which one you had me down for, and did the answers match your answers?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for giving me the honour to interviewing you. I've always wanted to interview you, and this was really fun.
Well, I appreciate it, Aman. And guys who's watching this, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast-style interview with myself. I hope you've learned a little bit more about me. Let me know if you want a part 2 in the comment section below, and we can do a part 2. Or if this video hits 3,000 likes, we'll do a part 2, and we'll be picking the most liked questions in the comment section for the next interview.
Peace.